All right, so you've heard this frustrations for a long time from people that say we're spending more money, but the problem persists. What do you say to all the folks that are frustrated that this is happening in their neighborhood?
Well, I just want to say that this is why I ran for office. I've been here for a little over 2 years, and part of the reason I ran for office was because I wanted to make change with the tools that we had available. And I think what we can do is to make sure that we're making real progress on housing people from encampments in our neighborhoods and getting them indoors. We've been doing that in my district, Council District 4. We've done that under underpasses, highway underpasses, and places where large encampments were. We've offered housing to them, and bit by bit, person by person, we've gotten every single person indoors. And because we offered them housing, people don't return to that site. They're housed and they stay housed and they move from that interim housing site into permanent housing. That's the kind of system that we can build here and that we must build. And we've seen the results of it in my own district, and I'm really excited to see it happen now on a citywide scale under the leadership of Mayor Bass.
And there's no doubt that there has been success stories under Mayor Bass. She said in her first 100 days about 4,000 people housed, but that would leave about 35,000 people or so unhoused. It's a huge problem. So the big question is the overall approach too small? Do we need a radically different approach? Is housing first working?
To me, offering housing is really the only way to have real change on the streets. I think about encampments in my own district, like the one that was under the Coldwater underpass. Week after week, people cleaned up that site and people would leave and then come back. When I took over, we changed our approach. We offered housing, and because we offered housing to every single person under that underpass, they went indoors and they haven't returned to that site because they are in housing. And I think that's the change in approach that we need to see on a citywide level for this to really have impact. Here in the city of Los Angeles, offering housing and services first has actually been a relatively new thing. For many years here in this city, we underinvested in shelter beds and housing for people experiencing homelessness. We have 41,000 people who are experiencing homelessness in the city of Los Angeles and a total of about 14,000 interim housing beds. That's why so many people are in tents on the streets. In a city like New York, where they have a shelter bed for every single person who's experiencing homelessness, by law, you see that they have more people who are experiencing homelessness and very few people who are actually on the street in tents and encampments the way that we have here in LA. We definitely need to be investing more in exactly the kind of interim and permanent housing solutions that we're doing now in order for us to see real change on LA streets. But we just started those investments a few years ago, so we're digging ourselves out of a decades deep hole. And that's why it's going to take time, but we are going to see progress.
And that's been some of the debate, whether you do what's called shelter first, which is basically get people off the streets, even if you don't give them all the other services and everything else, which is more expensive, or housing first, which is offer those wraparound services with it. One problem we've been seeing a lot of in the last few days is RVs in so many different communities. I've seen fires started. We've seen crime at some of these different places. A lot of neighbors really frustrated, and they feel like there's sort of a permit for lawlessness that's happening in various communities. And I'm wondering, what is the city's approach when it comes to these RVs camped out near people's homes?
Yeah, and I think, we've had a lot of success in my own district on dealing with tent encampments. RVs are definitely a bigger challenge. And I think everyone who is responding to RVs, and that's basically every district in the city, would agree that RVs continue to pose a real challenge. One of the issues that we're struggling with is that as people are moving indoors from an RV, unless you have a means of disposing of that RV, either by towing it and then destroying it depending on its condition, or buying it from the individuals who are moving indoors, if that RV remains on the street, it can repopulate very quickly. And so what we have to do is create a better system and a better response, but the city's towing capacity is actually incredibly limited. We simply do not have the space or the towing capacity to get rid of RVs, even as people are moving indoors. And I've seen that time and time again in my own district. So this is definitely, I would say, the next big challenge for the city is how do we respond to RVs? How do we build our towing and storage capacity for RVs? And how do we make sure that as we're moving people who are living in RVs into housing, that we're actually taking their RV off the street as well? And that's going to take real coordination.
Well, Councilmember Raman, we could talk about this literally for the entire show because there's so much to it. But we appreciate you coming on and answering some of our questions, and we hope you'll come back soon to talk more about all this.
I would love to. I could talk about this for days. So I welcome the opportunity to return and discuss this again.
Councilmember Nithya Raman, helping to run the city's approach to homelessness. Thank you.